Everyone, good to see you. Malcolm's not able to make it today. He's got a bit of family emergency, which we'll kind of be able to sort of soldier on without him. But we're gonna miss Malcolm on the call. Justin, thanks for joining. Nick, really great to have you on the call. Terry, thank you. Really good. We're in the latter stages now. The last time we did the video, the app's moved on so much now, and we're moving towards go live, which we've organised for the 18th of July. What I'll do is I'll share my screen. We'll do what we did last time, where we'll kind of go through. We've got a bit of a presentation we'll talk around, but this time it gets a bit more exciting because we're actually going to jump into the app and we're going to actually walk through the live app as it is. So a little bit different and quite right at this stage in time. We should be looking at the app itself. Let me share my screen. Okay, hopefully everyone should be able to see it. TaskSmart, we're in the latter stages now, like we said, the 18th of July, we're working towards. Who's on the call today? It's myself, Colchester Technology Solutions Manager. We've got Justin, good to wave your hand there, Colchester Microsoft 365 Specialist. We've got Terry Cooper, our Senior Power Apps Developer. We've got Nick Whiteley, who's Malden ICT Specialist, and doing an amazing job on the functionality within the Power App. And then Malcolm, he was due to be on the call. He's been doing some great stuff, working closely with Nick, Terry. He's been doing some amazing stuff in the app, especially with the functionality. Been a bit of a learning curve, hasn't it, for all of us? But we've definitely learned a lot more about Power Apps, and we're going to take that forward. It's been an amazing experience, and it's going to continue to be one. So what we're covering today? Well, we've got some screenshots that we thought we'd have a bit of a chat around. We'll give people a bit of a feel for the app before we jump in. It's going to make sense, which is the next bit. When we jump into that walkthrough, we'll be able to go into the development TaskSmart app, the one that we've got in dev. So you'll be able to see the actual working experience, navigating for the app itself. We'll cover what's next, what we're looking at, the remaining development work. We've got UAT that's due to finish this Friday, 5 o'clock. That gives us a bit of time next week to pick up on those final, bugs, fixes, UAT wise, get that functionality in there and get that guidance. It's going to be just as important to get the user admin guidance in place with the packaging, so we're able to release that app and people know how to open it, configure it and use it. And we'll keep up the comms. I'm looking at least, every 2 days, say what we're doing as we work towards the 18th. Upcoming launch dates. 18th's the biggie for us, isn't it? That's the one that we're working towards. That's the one that, is in our minds now, which is really useful. It goes live in Colchester. So we're going to start using it, and that's when the real learning takes place. Once you start using it across the neighbourhood services, we've got multiple users, smartphones. This is mobile first by default. They're going to be out in the field using it, and that's when we're going to learn, I think, the most, isn't it, guys? Bugs, fixes, that real-time view as soon as you start to open it up. So that's going to be really interesting. In fact, I've put there, we're going to dedicate developer resource for at least the first 4 to 6 weeks. Dedicated, so we can pick up and add and change functionality as and when required. We're going live with the UK government, local digital fund. We're making it available to any authority to basically download, configure, use it for their own use. And again, every time we update the app, we'll update that package. We'll make sure that they've got the very latest experience with the very latest functionality. So both kind of line up really, because we'll be learning from the release as we go live. It'll be Colchester, it'll be Malden, it'll be Tendring off the back of that. We're going to learn a lot from that, and then we can update the app, and then that will go into the central UK government package. So we'll make it better and better as we go. That's the whole development life cycle, isn't it? After that, we've got the 25th of July. That's when we're going to do a walkthrough of TaskSmart for our VIPs. We've got counsellors, we've got other VIP users. We want to pilot it with those VIP users. With VIP, they're able to raise their own tasks, they can see their own tasks, they can get an assessment of status. So they'll be using the app directly. You've got the operatives, you've got the managers, you've got the people in service that will be using it, but the VIPs are additional, and they're people with those, you know, extended kind of access rights. So they're able to go into the app and raise and assess and manage tasks. We'll start to get their feedback, because obviously it's a different view. They only see their tasks. In our case, with our councillors, they only see their wards, the ones that are being raised within their area. So again, we want to make sure that view is shown what they need to see. And we'll get that feedback and we'll gather it. And again, we'll keep improving the application. And then the big thing for us when it comes to sort of, you know, version control is version 2, isn't it? You know, we've got a version 1, we're going to go live with that. You know, we're going to fix those bugs, those issues. And then 10th of October, we're going to then say, right, it's embedded, it's working. Let's look at how we really enhance this. Let's look at the version 2. What functionality can we add to this? How can we change it to make this even better? So that's when the version 1 will then be completely reassessed. We'll take stock of where we are, what we've learned, and we'll start building in that specific functionality. And that's, again, part of our standard release. It's a bit like Microsoft, isn't it? You know, they release an OS, and then they start to update it once it's out in the field, once it's been used by, you know, public view. So we're just the same. I've done a bit of talking. I thought I'd hand over to you, Justin. If you want to tell us about how we're supporting the app.
Yep, sure. One of the critical elements with an app is not just deploying it, it's about supporting users and making sure it's the best experience that they can have with the app. We've got 5 different strands here, excuse me, that we will be making use of to ensure that users have a good experience and they feel supported, especially in those first few weeks. As Vaughan said, we've got some dedicated developer resource ready. That's all set to go. So we'll be supporting users with things like Teams video chat walkthroughs. We've already been doing that throughout the build, talking to users, hosting feedback sessions. There'll also be user guides for the TaskSmart app and for our Colchester implementation of the app, and for Malden tendering too. There'll be videos, there'll be some hand-holding for users in terms of users that require a bit of extra help getting their phone set up, for example. We're covering that in the guides. There'll be frequently asked questions, as everybody who uses software is accustomed to, and the developers will be around to give advice and talk through any issues. We'll also be asking for feedback. We're going to have a feedback form in addition to the UAT form. We'll be able to talk to users about their experiences through Teams chats, particularly our neighbourhood services users. There's a lot of operatives that will be using the app. We need to make sure they're happy and able to use it. And we'll be using that feedback to immediately bug fix anything or change any key features that need fixing right away. And then also adding into our planning for version 2, we already have a nice feature list from desires and expressions of functionality that people have made during the recent testing, and stuff that we want to do that we haven't been able to do this time, but we've got plans for the future for improving the app. So already thinking about version 2. As I said earlier, we'll be testing and fixing bugs. We'll be, again, using our colleagues in ICT who are very good at finding bugs to go through it once we're ready to go live. And then we'll be tracking any issues and feeding back to users constantly on what's been fixed and what they can expect from the app now. As I said, we'll have a dedicated developer. I think there'll actually be a couple of us available just to make sure that every day is covered fully in case anybody has any issues. And then we've got some detail there at the end about the training and guidance. There'll be a blended approach. We'll have guides that are visual and interactive, and videos, tips, our website, and the app itself has tooltips and other hint texts on the controls to help users get around the app and use them as they wish. Sorry, Vaughan, next slide, please. Thank you.
Say the good news for us is we're using digital. So, you know, yes, we've got help in the app, But again, everything's blended. You know, the whole point is, you know, videos, people relate to that. I think, you know, we don't want to make it static. You know, if someone can look at a video, I don't know about you, I'm a pragmatist. You know, I much prefer to look at someone doing it and then try and replicate it. And I think that's where, you know, we're moving things on, especially with the blended learning. So I love all that sort of element. Right.
Okay, now we're into some of the screenshots of the app. So these are some things that we've either added or changed or improved lately, is particularly based on feedback. So from the second round of testing, our users indicated they were unsure whether their task was successfully logged. After they hit save, they just returned to a task screen without any visual confirmation. So there's now a special screen that pops up briefly just to let them know that they were successful in submitting the task. And it also allows us to clear the fields on the new task so they're not saved from last time, so that it's ready for them to input another new task if they wish.
That's a simple change, wasn't it? But it made all the difference, didn't it? You know, it added that functionality, but it also, I mean, I'm the same. If I submit something, I want visual confirmation, you know, especially when it's online or in an app. You know, you want to know, yeah, it's submitted, you're good to go, you can relax. So I think that was you know, an excellent addition.
We also had feedback around size of controls and understanding of the new task form and what was required, which order perhaps you should do things in. There isn't a particular order, but it wasn't clear what was required, what wasn't. So what we've done is, based on that feedback from users, we've taken the previous approach, which was a stacked screen with different tabs, and we've split the three main elements of the task out into separate screens with the use of a clear navigation bar at the foot of the screen, which made the buttons easier to visually identify that they were A, there, and B, what they were for. So now when a user goes through a task, they start on the task details screen where they can select all of the different data about the task that tells us what it is that needs doing. And when they're ready to progress, they can use the next button to go on to add customer details optionally, and finally location. There are a few things that we want to make mandatory, because a task has to have a certain amount of data or the task management system wouldn't be able to manage the task. So there is a minimum of mandatory fields, just enough to get things working for the user. We have also have available the dark light modes, as well as the organisation theme that adopting organisations can set themselves from within the app. You might see that later in the admin screens when we go through a walkthrough. And we plan for version 2 as well to implement a high contrast theme to further improve accessibility.
It's definitely a cleaner look. I like the nav bar as well. I like the way that's cleaned that up with the icons. You know, it definitely top and bottom, you know, with the, you know, you've got the bin icon, you've got the move forward or back icon, home at the top. It just splits out the screen a lot cleaner, doesn't it? It's a nicer look, 100%. And it kind of made sense, but we had to look at it stacked up in order to say, actually, does that work? You know, and it's one of those things with development where you mock it up, you get it working, and you start looking at it and thinking, actually, we can improve that. And I think that, again, it's a decent life cycle, isn't it? We've moved in the right direction, and I think that's positive for us.
Yeah, it's part of this phase of the build, isn't it? All the functions are in there now. Now it's about making it usable, clean, prettier. Exactly, you know, focused on the user experience rather than on the does it work, which is where we were for the first part of the build.
It's a good position to be in. That's a definite.
Hi, so I thought I'd chat about some of the more advanced features that we've been putting into TaskSmart. So one of the most tricky features to implement has been the map location and pinning location. So if you can see on the slide, we have 3 images. So the one on the left-hand side was the proof of concept we originally had for location pinning. And we had quite a few issues with our original approach, and that was to pin map location via Bing and then use API calls via Google. Now, the problem we had with this was we kept getting differing results each time. So, for example, we searched for tendering town hall or Rowan House, and then subsequent calls weren't returning the exact location. So we decided to change our approach around and then use the bin connector that does all of the work actually inside the app itself. So if you look at the two screenshots on the right hand side, what you can see is all the functionality that we have with this. So on the right hand side, there is a little black dot. Now what that is, that's actually a zoom bar, so you can scroll up and down to move in and out of a location. You have the checkbox, which is the use my location, which would be really useful for operatives out in the field. If they find an issue, they want to raise a task, they can use that, and the app will pin the location where they currently are. Or if they're not, in the location, they can actually type it in as the example and then hit the preview map, and then that will actually pin to the address entered, which is based on up-to-date addressing data.
It's a decent way, isn't it? I mean, what I like about it is, it's nice and simple. If you click use my location, it then hits it, that's it. Or you can resolve it using, like you said, postcode, part of an address, So we've given them a decent range of options, haven't we? Which is good. And it works, which is the key thing.
And we've also got the little location notes underneath as well, just in case it's not a specific address. So you can leave notes, say if it was behind the back of a field or not an actual registered address. So we've got those additional notes to help the assigned officer find the location.
Useful with things like fly tipping, which are normally in lay-bys, order in a field. They're the tough ones, aren't they, to locate? You're right, Terry.
So the next feature is the filtering. So this came about because users wanted to quickly see not just their own tasks and their team tasks, but to filter down on a wide range of different areas to look at exact tasks that may be in a set service or in a particular ward or a current status. So again, looking at the two screenshots on the left hand side, we have the all view. So that's currently set there to the view team. So that would be set to whatever team that particular officer or operative is involved in. They can also view the my tasks, which will show them their own tasks, and they can search on open tasks. Now the filter button on the right there, that then opens up a couple of extra screens, and as you can see, there are a number of categories in which you can filter. So we can select to filter by service and then drill down onto category and group. We can filter by a specific ward, team owner, and even task status. So you don't have to use all of those. You may just want to filter only by live tasks that are in a particular ward, for example, or maybe just filter by one particular team. And then there's also a second screen, which we haven't got here, but we can briefly show you in the demo, which is in development, which is a requested feature specific for Colchester, which is enabling to search by location. Now, Colchester has 3 areas, north, south, and centre. And depending on which ward you're in, that might be one of those 3 areas. That was an additional feature, and we can run through that later in the demo to show how that will work.
And the other thing we worked on with filtering is, where it holds that view, doesn't it? So once people start to filter, it will go back and you don't have to keep resetting it. It will hold the previous values, which I think is another useful.
Yeah.
Because quite often, if you filter it, normally you go back and you want the same filter. You're looking at the same information. So I think, again, that's all that user experience, isn't it?
Yeah, so I think we've got the discard option if they want to discard the filter and then go back to the previous view, which may be my tasks or team tasks. But we want to implement that so it retains the filter. So if you come out of it and go into a new task and you go back into the task list, you will retain that filter without having to tick all the options unless you explicitly discard it.
That's great. Definitely user focused. Love it.
And this is another feature, which is attaching an EXIF image. So if you're not sure what an EXIF image is, that stands for exchangeable image file format. Now, what this does is most digital cameras and smartphones have this information when you take a picture, and it stores metadata tags, which is about the, for example, date taken, for example, other information about the device, but also most importantly is the GPS data, which gives the X, Y, and lat long values, which we can then use in conjunction with the pinning location. So again, if you look at the screenshots, and sorry, they're a bit squeezed here, I think, but you can see that when you create a new task, raise a new task, you do have the option to add attachment and add a photo, and then that's where that will be uploaded into the task list.
And that's really useful, isn't it? I mean, Nick's on the call, you know, I'm going to have to suggest, you know, Nick was the one that sort of, you know, thought about using this data, and he was, you know, spot on as always. You know, that EXIF data is used by multiple apps now. It's got that location data, that lat long, that XY behind it. So someone, you know, the smartphone, they can take that picture and then automatically uses that location data to say, hey, this is where the picture was taken. I'll use that location. It just goes into the app. It just makes it so much smoother, doesn't it? You know, to think you can take a picture and it will just upload that location off the back of that picture. That means the operative has less information to put in, less room for error, doesn't it? So great catch there, Nick. Loved it. Like the idea. We're building it into version 2, aren't we? That's one of the ones that we're going to be including for sure. And talking about Nick.
Yeah, so I was going to go a little bit over offline sync. So we know that our users tend to start their day in the office, or if you're working from home, at home. At this point, you're connected to the internet, so you're able to pull data from your SharePoint list. However, if you have your officers that go out and about on site, out in the district, county, they're not always going to have that internet connectivity that they need. So what we've done is we've implemented the offline sync. So even if you drop offline, we start saving the data to your phone. And this allows us to make sure that you're always connected to the data source that you need. As soon as you become available, you have a couple of minutes of internet connection, you're able to get an updated list, and you're also able to push that data back to SharePoint, and that allows any other officers within the authority to be able to pick up the tasks. We've added small icons just to let you know if you're offline, and you also have screens that pop up if you've been offline and you've reconnected. This just lets you know that we're resyncing the data, and you'll be able to use the app again in a couple of minutes.
Massive. I mean, God, you know, it's huge, isn't it? That functionality is essential, isn't it? You know, I mean, Tendring, Malden, Colchester, we've all got our outlying geographical areas that are, you know, there's countryside. Colchester's a big place, soon to be a city, not that I'm plugging it. But there are geographical locations where I even lose connectivity, and you think, you know, that would just lose the app, wouldn't it? If an operative's part way for entering information and then they lose it and they've got to re-enter it, or they haven't got that assurance that whatever's entered is going to actually filter through and be updated. So you're right, Nick. You know, we've worked hard on that, and I think that's essential, and I think that's a big win for us.
And obviously, any application requires more development over time. There's always improvements that can be added to an application, and there's always bug fixes that will need to be plugged. So we'll constantly be updating the application. Upon opening the Power Apps on your device, you'll see that there's a new version available. All you've got to do is just simply click it. It'll update the app to the most current version, and you can continue with your tasks.
I did that the other day, just want to test it. In fact, that's a screenshot I took actually, and it was just so simple. You know, I opened up the app, I saw the new version, I clicked on the bar, done. It was a matter of seconds. It said, right, you're good to go. And I love that. I even like user experience, you know, you're good to go with a big thumbs up. Again, it's just simple. It doesn't add to anyone's day. It just does it. And that's what we want, isn't it? Just to function. So yeah, another good one, isn't it? We've done all right. I'm not trying to sort of, you know, pat ourselves on the back, but I think we've done a great job. You know, we're really starting to get that functionality coming through now. In fact, I'm getting quite excited. I think we need a walkthrough, Terry. We need to actually see that app.
Yep. Okay. So what I'll do is I'll boot the app up in desktop mode, in play mode, and we can run through some of the key features. So we can go through the raising tasks, finding tasks, location pinning, filtering, how we're looking at the analytics and reporting, and yeah, let's begin. So if you want to,
I'll stop sharing if you want to take over.
Absolutely. Yep.
And some of this, I mean, reporting, it's just gone in, isn't it? You know, people are seeing literally the latest app, and it's some of this, it's only just gone in. So even we're sort of getting acclimatized to it. So it's really good to see this latest version.
Okay, I'm just going to start sharing now. So let me know when that's gone through. Can you see my screen? Yep. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to run the TaskSmart Master version in play mode, and then we can go through the app. So the first thing to notice is, I'll just mention it before we start, is that when you open the app, there's a check that takes place to see if you're a registered account user. If you are, it says you're good to go and you can go onto TaskSmart. If not, you will then be prompted to create an account. So we'll see that in action now. Yep, as you can see, it's collecting all the information. You're good to go. Let's continue on to TaskSmart. So we have here the main homepage with each of the key functions. So links to my tasks, new task, user settings, report. We also have the little hamburger menu at the top as well for navigation. So you can, this is prevalent throughout the whole app. So you can use this navigation if you're on another screen without having to come back to the home and then return. But we'll begin by, should we raise a new task to begin with? Because that's probably the most common feature. So we'll go to our new task screen, and as you can see, we have all these options. So the service group, category, etc., etc. So in this instance, we'll say we're neighbourhood services. And as you can see, when you update a particular drop-down menu here, the child categories also update. So when we had ICT, we had these default ones here, hardware issues, etc., etc. But when we switch to,
will be assigned, each user will be assigned a service group. So the good thing for them is it will land with their service, won't it? That's so your ICT, someone could be neighbourhood, and again that lessens, you know, the amount of information you have to put in. It's trying to get them sort of where they need to be in the quickest amount of time, isn't it? With less entry.
Absolutely. And again, you can see even changing these subcategories, the children update. So to ensure that we you can't have a group that's not got the correct category, etc. So we avoid any issues with that. So we can add our information here. We may not know what ward it is. We may know. We may not know. And as the owner, I'm default, but I could actually say someone else is going to be. I've raised it on behalf of somebody else, and I can go through the owner list. And we'll say it's live. So the details screen, as you can see, is mandatory. You can't raise a task without filling in details. So we'll just say the street hasn't been. Well, let's just say rubbish torn from.
As you said earlier, Justin, you know, it's
over the street. There we go. That's our task.
Since you split out the separate screens, it's a lot clearer to see what mandatory, what's not. You know, that's so much easier, isn't it? Rather than that
compared to what we had before with the 4 buttons along the top, which we saw in the in the slides earlier. So now I've added the basic details. I can then go to the next screen here. And then this is if we've got a specific customer who has raised this. So someone who's maybe rang the council up, or someone who is we're doing it on behalf of. But these aren't mandatory because there may not be a customer. It may be a task that you're raising yourself. So we can put those in, and at any point we can navigate through back and forward. Here we go, using these screens. Now this is the location, as we've mentioned before. So for example, let's say we want to go to 33 Sheepen Road, which is Rowan House. And then I type that, I hit preview map, and the address data pulls through to Rowan House, as you can see, and also the location is pinpointed on the map. And if we wish to, we can actually zoom in and zoom out with these handy controls. And then we can say rubbish was found to the rear of the building as an additional note for the operatives to look at. So then when we can then save this, or we can go back and edit any of our previous entries, but I'm going to save that as a new task. And maybe a slight bug there for us to investigate, but we did see that the success screen after submitting that.
As Vaughan said, we're working in the development app. People have been working on the document upload functionality at the moment. I've just seen one of the flows has updated, so that's why.
Yeah.
Okay. So we've raised the task. Now we want to go in and maybe update the task, but we need to find it. So we'll go into My Tasks. Now, by default, this just shows you the tasks that are allocated to you. As you can see, we're in the My Tasks view. Although I've got 3 tasks added here with the relevant due dates, and we can see here that we have the relevant information. So the task ID, the task group, priority, and status. One thing that will be added in is the top row is currently blank, but that will be the location address details that will be added in, so we can see that at a glance. So from within this view, we can then go into a task that we've created or raised. So I can just literally click in to that task, and I can see the information. I can see the created due date, owner, etc., details. But I can also go in and add notes or attachments. And to do that, I need to go into edit mode. Now, the edit mode icon is the pen icon here. And if you hover over, there's a little tooltip which actually confirms what that does. That's edit task. So then here we can use this to add in a new note. So task is being looked at this afternoon. And then I can just hit the save icon.
We mentioned it earlier. I do like it. You know, I'd expect to sit in apps as soon as I hover over. Even though it's obvious in some cases, it's good to see. You know, it's save, it's edit, it's back forth. So I think all of that all helps. I think with our user experience.
Exactly, and as we can see, going back into the task after saving, we have the notes from the user, which is me, and the time the note was added, and then the actual note as well. And we can also do the attachments and edit other information if we so choose. But we're going to come out of here now, and we're going to look at some of the other options we have. So we may want to look at the team tasks. So these are all tasks in my team. I'm ICT. So you can see these all things like broken keyboard, broken mouse, etc., etc. There's quite a lot of these, and they have various little priority levels. So you can see if something's high priority, we have that red, and we also have the little diamond icon. Now that indicates it's been raised by a VIP user, which takes even higher priority. And then we can go back to viewing mine as well from that particular view. So we can also filter. Okay, this is still being worked on at the moment. There are some additional filters to be added in. But the basic premise is we have you can filter by service category group. You can filter by a particular ward, the team and owner, and then task status. So we may, for example, say and you can mix and match these how you like. So let's say we want to filter on ward, and we want to see only the tasks raised in Castle Ward, and we only want to see tasks raised in Castle which are currently live. So then if we hit the apply, this then takes us to a new list which shows us all these records which are live and which are in Castle. As you say, if we go into one of these, we can see it's a Castle Ward. And then we can then come back in and say discard the filter, and then the filter then goes back to your My Tasks view. One of the additional filters currently being worked on is the location, as I alluded to in the slides earlier. Now, what this does is enables you to filter further by area, north, south, or town. And then for reference, you can pick one of these, and then if you're not sure, you can see which wards are covered by those areas. But we're going to discard that. Oh, and that should be that needs to be turned off. Another little bug we noticed there. So yep, so that's basically the my tasks and the editing tasks and the filtering of tasks. So if we go back to the home screen, Vaughan, what do you want me to go through next? Should we go through the admin
reporting
settings?
We've just looked at obviously the fact that filtering, and we're adding additional filtering there. The reporting's something that again we've added, haven't we? That's something that's come in. Let's look at some of this new functionality that we're building in.
So we've got the reporting here, so we can see, for example, at a glance, the different task statuses and how many particular records are in each of these. So here at a glance, we can see we've got 114 open tasks, 7 on hold, unassigned, assigned, and overdue. But we can then drill down on these. So let's go, for example, let's look at the tasks that are on hold, for example. And then this displays these task keys. We can see the ones that are on hold. And again, we have the exact same functionality for some of the others. We can see overdue. And again, we have the full list of overdue tasks. Now, I'm hoping that when this goes live, we're not going to have 90 overdue tasks, but it's just in testing mode. That's slightly different. But as you can, and also these are editable as before. So from within this view, we can simply go into here, and this will take you into the view and edit mode. So you can actually go and then edit a task from within the reporting sections. But it's important to know that the reporting sections will only be made available to certain types of users. So some operatives won't be able to go in and look at, for example, with reports and what's overdue and what's not. They'll have their own views only. It's only because I'm a designated admin user that I can see that view. So from a security point of view, it's important to ensure that user roles are defined and that users can only see areas of the app that they are entitled to. So we're going to.
And there with that particular task, we saw, we didn't add one earlier, but it shows if an attachment's present, if it's a JPEG, if it's a photo, you can then go into it, which is really good. In fact, one of the functions we're looking at for version 2, we spoke about it yesterday with the services, is a bit of a before and after. We're looking at how we can support that. So yes, they'll upload a picture saying this is what it looks like. It could be graffiti, it could be fly tipping. And then what we then are going to try and do is say, look, this is it after. So the customer could even, see that it's been cleaned up. This is what it now looks like. And again, visually, that's so much better for that user experience, isn't it?
Yeah, I'll just quickly show attachments because I didn't do that before when I raised a task. So I'll go into the task I created earlier, and then I'll go into edit mode. And then what I can do is I can do an attachment here. So then you've got the option from device, photo, cancel done. So in this example, we're going to just upload a file from device. And this just takes you through into a basic file open screen. We've got this dummy text file we can use. And then we hit done, and
I did try and say, Terry, I think that was the flow that was worked on earlier.
Right, okay, so that's possibly being worked on. That's why that's actually not okay. That does make sense. Yeah, I think I got that notification as well. So there was a change to a flow, wasn't there? I think it came at the start of the meeting, so someone's working in that area, which is good.
We'll do another walkthrough as well. I mean, today is a walkthrough just because we want to sort of see where we are, where we've got to, as we start to sort of lessen the amount of development resource that we're putting into it, as we get closer to release, we'll do another quick video. It will be around a walkthrough though. We'll go into the app and it will focus the whole of the video and what we're discussing in the app. So we'll do that in the next, next week, next few days. But this is great. It's come on leaps and bounds, isn't it?
Absolutely. And just to we can showcase the themes. So we have the user settings here. So this is from a user's point of view. They can come in and change the theme for the app. So we've got the current organization one, but we can also have the dark theme, as you can see, or the light theme as well. And these are sometimes often used for accessibility reasons. Some users find it easier to use a dark theme than a standard navigation. So we have that, and then we also have the admin sections. So this is for admin users, and they can administer users, categories, and settings at the organizational level. So for users, for example, we can search for particular users. We can add new users into the app from this screen as well. We have the ability to manage categories. So for example, this is where when we were raising tasks earlier, we had those child categories, but these aren't set in stone. These are all managed at the admin level. So actually, I can actually add a brand new category. I can manage my subcategories. So for example, we'll go back to neighborhood services. We have all of these categories. We can click into one, and then we can look at the groups underneath them. So we can manage at the 3-4 levels. And under the groups, the 4th level, we have the task type. So we have the service, the category, the group, and the type. And all 4 of these are able to be editable within the app for the admins. And also you can create and add new groups, tasks, types, and categories.
I think that's a big deal, keeping in the app again.
Yeah.
A lot of the time when it comes to admin functions, it's in a separate portal.
Yeah, it's in a separate location, or you have to. Yeah, you have to modify on back-end lists or raw data, but no, this is all in app for the admin users. So it is a one-stop shop, and I think this is a really good feature that we should be quite pushing quite well to be proud of, because I think it's taken a lot of time and effort.
Even the priority levels, the default days, all of that, which is really, essential stuff, can all be done in the app. I think that's a big deal.
And even here at the environment settings, so this is where we can set things such as like the time of how long the data is saved back into the lists. We have the ID, what locality we are, what's our postcode. This is information that's set up for an organisation. So whatever authority wishes to use this, they can set their own themes up within the app. They can set the RGB values. So if you've got an authority that has, for example, a default colour scheme of red and white, that can be set here in the app. It's not something that we would have to package up for them. This is entirely configurable for every organisation or authority that wishes to use the app, and that is a key feature.
That patch timer comes back to what we were talking about earlier, wasn't it, Nick? When it comes to the offline sync, they can even change, that's set to a standard 15 minutes. So it will keep checking every 15 minutes for connection. You can have it lower, which sometimes that can impact. So, we've tried to work 15 minutes is about right. Otherwise, if it keeps checking for the connectivity, that can have an impact, of course, on an app functionality. So, but that could be set by the local authority. So it's, there's a lot of configuration built in there.
Yeah, so I think as a standard walkthrough, I hope that helped to see where we currently are. We're very close to release now. We've got a few bugs and UAT issues that we're working through, but I think within the next week or so, for 18th of July, we'll be ready to go live and for launch. And I think it's from the last walkthrough we displayed, I think we've come a long way in terms of functionality, look and feel, ease of use. So I think it's it's coming along very nicely. Just the last push, and then we're over the line.
In my opinion, I don't think we've delivered what we said we would. I think we're delivering more. When you think about what we're trying to sort of eke out of this app, I think we're actually taking it to an extended level. So I think we're trying to get even more out of it, and I can't wait till version 2. But we've come so far with this, and we've added in.
Yes, well, there's quite a few features and functionality that we had earmarked for version 2. They're actually going to be in version 1. So yeah,
definitely. and that's where all our minds are done really well. You know, sometimes you've got to sit back and think, actually, you know, and it's difficult when you're developing. It's always about, I want this to work or this to be even better. You know, at some point, you know, it's that strive for perfection. You know, we're going to get version 1 to a point where we release it on the 18th. We know there'll be things that we want to change or improve. We'll keep doing it, but we'll release it knowing that we've built in, you know, some significant functionality, look, feel, everything. So we'll keep working on it, but it's the typical strive for perfection.
I'm just going to stop sharing and then hand back to you, Vaughan, to go through the
Thanks,
last few slides.
Yeah, thank you. Funny enough, the next slide is going to help us really, because we've just literally seen that reporting view. The fact that it's very simple, the fact that when it comes to this is more of a desktop view, you look at how it's extended, how it goes across, ours goes down. We had those nice clear buttons that we could go into. Again, you know, we built it for mobile first. This is the high level one, a proof of concept in the previous version, the alpha, we're now beta. Again, it's not as clean look and feel, it's expanded. I think the colors, everything just don't jump out. You haven't got the same priority, that VIP, it doesn't leap out at you, the information that they need to see. The other thing is this was static. You couldn't click on it. You couldn't go into the tasks. You could just view them. You then have to remember that task, remember the ID for it when it was created, and then go in and actually find it. Everything we're doing when we surface those tasks, the user, the operative, can click on it where it is and go into the task. So again, that's a big change, isn't it, to what we had before? Look, feel, 100%, but the functionality, it's far better than what we had. But it's good to make that comparison, isn't it? What we had in the alpha, what we got in the beta, even just reporting alone, which, as we said, was going to be version 2. We've got it into version 1, so we knew that we wanted to get as much as we could, maximize it. Going live on the 18th, blimey. That's coming up now. Justin, it's something we're working on, isn't it?
Yep, focused on that now. Today, in fact, I'm working on gathering up and editing, tweaking, writing documentation. Not the stuff that we've done as we go through the build, but the last bits about, as it says on the right there, guidance to how to unpack and configure it, because we'll deliver the app and some sample configurations for it and the SharePoint setup that's needed for it. And the flows that are required for the app to work, but then it's about for the organisation that takes it on, how do I get that into my environment? We've got our own documentation of how we set things up as we went through, and we'll actually be using our own guidance for TaskSmart to migrate our own Colchester version into production to make sure that it all works perfectly for other organisations. So that'll all be packaged up together, probably in zip file, along with the app itself, and the user guides and the and links to the blended learning, all sorts of different things to make it a complete package, so that it's easy for organisations to take it on. That, you know, we talk about Colchester, and you see and Tendring and Maldron, and you've seen in our demos thinking about our implementation of it, but all the while we've been trying to think, how might somebody use this? How might this be more configurable so that people can adopt it in the way they need? And the actual app and how they install it will be the same. We're trying to make it as easy as access as possible, because not just because that's part of the LDF Local Digital Fund approach about sharing good work, but because we believe in it, and we want to share with our other public sector colleagues. Why do the work twice?
I mean, key for us, wasn't it, was the fact that, yes, we're going to build the right app, but again, it's that user experience, isn't it? You know, you either get them on board or you lose them. You know, if they're able to get their head around the app, you know, we're putting as much as we can into the app when it comes to navigation, look, feel, but if they've got that guidance, which they can look at, and again, we've gone very visual, videos, clear screenshots, pictures, we're trying to make it visual, because that's where I think the sweet spot is for everyone these days. if they can look at it and in 5 minutes get a feel for how to access it, navigate it, they can jump into that app and they can get using it. And I think that's what, you know, we mustn't lose that. You know, you can have the best app in the world, but if you haven't got that user experience and that engagement up front, you kind of lose them, you know, from the start. So we're focused on that, aren't we?
Yeah, absolutely. But, you know, using personal experience, if I download a game and run it and then it says it needs to update for another 2 hours, you've lost me. I'm off doing something else. We don't want that with our app. We want it 5 minutes, download it, a couple of hours to install it at most, and then you're away. So yeah, that's what we're looking to do. We're also, as Vaughan said earlier, we're pushing to make version 1's experience positive for users as we can. As with all software, we know once we move from a set of about 20 to 25 testers to about 100, 200 users, they'll find things. They always do. That's what they're doing. They're using the app at maximum operational capacity, which is not something you can easily simulate in testing. So that'll be great to find out how it works in practice, not just bugs either, but suggestions, you know, different people, different views. It might be nicer if it did X. We'd like to see Y. These are all things that we can start picking up. We'll do bug fixes immediately and start packaging up feature requests for version 2, which is planned for October. Yeah, we are looking forward to it now. It's so close.
And it is interesting because, you know, whenever it comes to development, you never quite know. You know, you cover as much as you can, but you can only cover so much. And there'll always be that user that uses it in a different way to anything you could have kind of thought about or tested, you know, because we all work in different process. My logic's different to yours, and I'm interested in seeing what comes out. You know, I hate to use the term, I've got to be careful, we're videoing this, but let's see if someone can break it, you know. Let's just see how far we can push it, you know. But that's what we're after, isn't it? Let's just expand it when you've got 140, 160 octave using it in different geographical locations, completely at different areas within a city. You know, I'm going to push that again, location. You know, it's going to be interesting, I think. And as we get more and more tasks, you know, we've been testing on a lower number of tasks. As soon as you get into the hundreds, the thousands, that's going to be interesting. It'll be 4 to 6 weeks and leading up to October, and then October again we'll keep pushing this out and maximizing it. But we've got a good version 1. We've done a decent job. And the last one I just want to end on is we're focused on the 18th. Our UAT, we've got it running up until this Friday. We're going to run it up until Friday the 8th, 5 o'clock, because at some point we've got to say, right, you know, let's finish that last round of UAT. That gives us Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, effectively. You know, the start of that, Monday to Tuesday, we're picking up UAT. We'll then be sort of, you know, fixing that, getting it where it needs to be. And then the last couple of days, we'll be getting that guidance right, because again, we want to focus on that. We'll have that app locked into where it needs to be. The guidance will reflect that. So we'll split those 4 days. It'll be a couple on user experience UAT, and then focusing fully on that packaging and user guidance. We'll update LinkedIn. It's here on the screen. We've also got a web page that we'll kind of put some project updates on. We'll probably do that every couple of days. Yes, we're busy, but let's let people know what we're doing. So I'll make sure we've got Janet and our team that does all of the comms. So we'll make sure we're updating everyone every couple of days. Let's focus on the 18th. It's getting exciting. The good news is, you know, the app's in a really great place. You know, if we'd have been looking to go live 3 months ago, we probably wouldn't be looking this relaxed. but we've done a lot of work to get it where it needs to be. There's always a bit of pressure, you know, as soon as you press that button, as they say. But again, we'll just kind of work at that. We'll get those niggles, you know. Even during this call, you know, we know that people are still working on it. We've had a couple of like small minor blips that, you know, others wouldn't have noticed, but we notice it because we're in that dev state of mind. But again, it's showing that we're constantly working on it to make it a better app. I mean, not constantly, we do sleep, but we're trying to push it as hard as we can. We've covered a lot, haven't we? do you think we've covered it all? Do you think we'll have another video where we'll just do a walkthrough, can't we? Just focus on the app. That's what people want to see. I don't think we've missed anything, have we?
No, I think we've covered everything. I mean,
Good.
so, yeah.
That's been good. No, this is going to go out on YouTube. We did it before. Hopefully someone watches it. You always hope. If not, I'll have to get relatives or someone to go on. We'll get our family to watch it. But I'm sure people are interested. You know, this is going to be a big app. You know, and because of the funding by Local Digital Fund, it means it can be made available, as we know, to other local authorities. You know, it's not going to be a big outlay. Again, let's remind ourselves about the licensing. We've done it, you know, E3 is the main one. You know, you could even go lower if you get the front line, you know, so we could get the F3 as well. So again, the licensing skew is good. We've not gone for premium. We've kept it within a local authority kind of standpoint when it comes to licensing. So all of this, I think, bolsters the fact where why wouldn't you look at trying to look at this app, adopt it, even if you want to take elements of it and use it to forward your own app development within your authority further, do it. That's why it's going to be made available. You know, take elements you like, reuse it, or use the whole thing. You know, we don't mind. That's what we've done it for. And thanks to Local Digital Fund for giving us the funding, enable us to do it. And again, you know, I just want to, while Nick's on the call, say I couldn't imagine we'd have been able to do it at this level. We couldn't have jumped in with Malden. We couldn't have jumped in with Tendering and shared. And I've loved the experience. I want this to continue. Working with Nick, working with, you know, Malcolm, working with those developers, it's been really, really good. It's expanded our team. Why wouldn't we continue it? So I'll see whether we could look at additional funding, you know, through Local Digital to take it even further, because I think this has been so beneficial for all of us. It's been good. Thanks, everyone. Really appreciate you joining the call. And let's do a walkthrough on the next one. We'll look at planning something next week. Have a great day, everyone. Thank you.
Thanks, Phil.
Cheers, thanks.
Thank you.
Bye.
Oh, gone. Bye then.
Yeah.
I'll go and breathe out on my own. See you later.
Yeah. See you
Cheers.
later.
Bye.
Thank you.